Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the January 23rd edition of Morning Copy Review. I'm here in a foggy, misty Little Rock this morning, and Michael's back home in Arizona, and we've got some fun things to talk about today, but we started with a little bit of troubleshooting, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. So good morning, Michael. How's it going today?
Going good. We are starting to cool down. It's been a couple rainy days here, which isn't normal out in Arizona. So it's been a little bit rainy, a little gloomy, but excited to be here today to talk to you all about managing statuses. Again, in traditional form of morning coffee review, feel free to bring up any questions you have, not related to the specific topic, and we will answer them, workflow related or any of those veins. We will say, as tradition here for MCR, we ride the line. There are some announcements that we will not be able to announce until. No, it's not next week.
The week after next, we might have something to talk about.
Yeah, we'll have
nudge, nudge.
Yeah, we'll have something to talk about. So, we can't say it yet, but just something coming up. So we'll talk about that when it is allowed us to talk about it. But other than that, again, feel free to ask us any other questions that you have around Bluebeam. This is for all of you. This was the reason why we created this outside of the topic. We only bring up the topic to fill the time. So hopefully you have some questions. If not, we'll continue talking about statuses. Yes, I picked the status topic because a lot of folks have been asking about statuses in studio sessions, and we'll talk about some of those workflows. We've done a video for this, but it's been, I think, a while since we've done something on this. But for now, we're going to be talking about statuses and my wishful hope that they will add an import status ability. But until then, we'll go in, and then I'm also going to bring up a support ticket that came through into here recently about importing comments and those types of things for studio sessions, because this is going to be in the same vein when we go through and talk about that. But anything else, Arlie?
So before we get started, I'm going to put a link in the chat if my copy paste wants to start working. That's kind of weird. So Doug had mentioned in the chat there was a announcement of Bluebeam Labs, which is a public sandbox. I know other software companies do the same thing, where they invite certain people and you can sign up if you want to have input. So as we're just talking about, make a suggestion. That's what we like to do here. The Bluebeam Labs is a potential way to do that. I think it looks like it's going to be more focused in the cloud, which will be cool. But there is a Bluebeam Lab that you can sign up for if you want to be a part of that. So I think that's all.
I wonder if there's been any Bluebeam Cloud updates.
I haven't checked recently.
I'm just going to look at their
updates
list.
But I did have a conversation about it last week. Somebody was looking for something not as intense as Autodesk Build, but something, that was better than, napkin sketch and emails. So, hey, check this out. So that's Cloud works pretty well for that. All righty.
I can't find.
Wait.
The updates page, whatever.
Oh.
I'll look at it a different day.
Yeah, I can check. I've got it up here. Learn what's new in the updates page. Bluebeam Cloud.
Were you going to show something or?
No, I was just going to pull it up.
Yeah, there is a rotate issue. I think it was this PDF.
Oh, hang on. There was a Bluebeam Cloud Android app update today. So I think we talked about this before. There is an iOS version, so it looks like there is an Android one now. So if you are an Android, go to the store, take a look for the Bluebeam Cloud app. Looks like they added some new details to tabs for RFIs, punches, and general markups. You can download unsupported. I think that might be a misspelling. File types attached to RFIs, and you can see some loading indicators. So pretty cool stuff. Yeah, that looks like the last update for Bluebeam Cloud. And then Revu 21, yeah, hasn't been updated since October 17th.
Yeah. So here's the rotate issue.
So it was fine, and then you ran OCR and then flipped over?
Yeah, you were busy talking and I did it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to download it. I'm going to try it on my side since you sent that file to me.
And then you could rotate the page, not the view, because that's not actually rotating the page. But again, Control Shift R, Control Shift R. It'd be counterclockwise.
But why would you need to run OCR on this file? Because it doesn't have.
It was printed as a raster because when you enable shadows in Revit, it defaults to a raster. Well, it only can print as a raster. So for those folks in the architectural field, typically sometimes we print things as raster. Well, we print things with shadows enabled, and that is printed as a raster image. So I was going through and trying to be able to search for things, and you can't do it unless it is ran with OCR. So now I can select stuff.
I just did OCR on that, and it did not flip over. Had no issues.
And what update are you on? So maybe it's just some of us.
Well, I'm on the same version as Bob, so interesting.
Yeah.
But I can't select that text that you have selected. Maybe? I don't know.
Did you run OCR?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do detect text?
No, I probably, that's what I did, is I unchecked everything.
Yeah, that's probably why.
There we go. You get the same rotation prob with no OCR. Yeah, see, that's what I did, because I saw up earlier in the chat, Bob, that you said that you had nothing selected. So interesting.
Well, on that note, let's talk about statuses. So if we go through and make a markup, we'll get out of this PDF here example. So let's talk about statuses and the ability to use them, and then we'll talk about the ability to use them in Studio Session. What I use as a reference is there can be many things, and we'll start off with what my reference typically is, and then what other people and folks have told me that they've done. So typically in the world of paper that we used to have, we would go through and redline stuff with red ink, right? So you'd have a revision, and then you'd go through, and then you'd see this revision as a designer, and you'd go through and update it in your design set, and then you'd highlight it that you've completed it, just so you know as your back check that you've done the work of what the revision is, right? Within Revu, you can do the same process, except you can run through with statuses. And then there's other things that you can use it for. Like I know oil and gas has used it for turn off, turn on, or closed valves, open valves as they're going through the plant. You can go through and use this as a delivery method when you're going through and adding stuff into a room, right? If you start going through and adding, I guess, you could basically formulate a room layout in here, and then from there you could group things together in a space, and then you can say, hey, this was delivered here, X, Y, and Z. You can go through and do a punch list, right? And things completed. Same thing, colorization, to go through and change the colors as things has been marked completed or delivered, right? Or again, all of those items as you go through. Anything else you can think of, Artley?
Just like maintenance inspections too, right? If you're a building, in the O&M space, and you need to go do regular maintenance checks or whatever, you can have that, because it's doing that date and timestamp for you. Checked, replaced, repaired, whatever. You can use that. Another way to just keep track of things without having to have multiple piles of notes or copies of the same file.
Mm-hmm. And where does this live? What are these? So down in the markups list. you have the three dots and the three lines. And from here, you have a column called status. If you do not see it, you can go to the markups list drop down, columns, and then from there you can see subject here as well. Status here. Deselect it, select it. I'm going to turn off a bunch of these other ones here. But what you're able to do is you're able to double click in here, or you don't have to double click either. You can select the markup, right click, and then set a status. So there's a couple options as well. Now, the default ones from out of the box are not modified to change colors. So what you need to do is you need to come into here and click the little draw bar here. It's like the music slides that you can use. I use the manage status here. And these are the existing ones from out of the box. And again, for those folks listening in, I'm in the Revu Advanced profile. Out of the box, Revu Advanced profile has review. So that's what we would have done. Accepted, rejected, canceled, complete. I typically just, when I'm demoing this for folks, I do modify of this existing one. You can also have it update comments for you if you wanted to. I haven't used that at this point. Maybe you do. You want to say exit out as a comment or change the text. And then there's this other one as well. So these are just built into the profile. Whenever you create a status, it automatically saves to the PDF. Now, if I want to save it to my profile, you can do that as well so that you can reuse it later on. Otherwise, if I save this PDF with a change status, then it will save that PDF and I can send it or upload it into Studio Sessions and everyone will have access to it as well. That has to be done, and we'll talk about that in a second for sessions from one page in a full set. But if you have separate sets in the session, we'll get more granular and talk about that as well. But from here, I'm going to go to the completed and change. We already changed it, hit OK. And then now if someone comes in, right? So I've made this markup. Great. Now I'm going to send these out for review. One of them has to have been changed at some point. But what I can do now is I can select it, right click. And for those folks that have never seen this before, you can mark it completed and it's changed the color for it. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this in a session, and we'll talk about it. You could not do color changing and get some type of concept in the same way where you're marking it a specific way. Like maybe you're not using completed for this example just because I've already changed this color. If I put accepted, you could do a filter list and get the same kind of concept where I don't want to see any of them that I want to see ones that are just blank that haven't been marked as a status, right? And you get kind of the same concept where you have grayed out and then red are obviously ones I need to address. That's just a way you don't have to do this part that we're going to talk about in a second. But again, talking about the ability to have statuses, and you can continue to set new statuses at any point in time too. And these stay time stamped and dated for when things were completed. So again, think of a delivery list. When was this valve opened and closed? Other things that Jason mentioned as well. Now, are there any questions specific to statuses?
So there's a little discussion about that text function, right? What's the use case for putting that text in there? I sort of agree with Liz. Can't really think of a use case for that, but then it came up from Doug that use it for RFIs, right? That way, when you submit, they have the text and it would sort of be there. So it's worth experimenting with. Obviously, that feature exists for a reason. We just might not have it in our everyday workflows to have that make sense. No.
No.
There you go. So Michael changed that status to rejected, and it changed the text.
Yeah.
You could have it say done. You could have it have your initials. You could have it, and I think that's more so if you were going to, reprint it, you could use that as your sort of signature as well, even though it's, your name is timestamped in the markups list. But if you did need to reprint it or flatten it, send it to somebody who doesn't have access to the markups list, maybe that's a use case.
Yep. And again, coming back full circle, I wish there was an import manage statuses here, but there isn't. So on that note, wishful thinking.
Go up to our favorite button, make a suggestion. Right there. I mean, that seems easy enough. And so much of Revu's power is being able to import and export to share settings and functionalities. It seems like that one would be an easy one to check off that would add a lot of value to the software.
Yeah, so when you've created a custom status, so we'll add one here, MCR, you just select it. Since these are already saved to the profile from out of the box profile, you just hit save profile. So if I add a new one, completed, change that color, I will forever have this saved to this profile now. And it's default of selection and default's completed. So if I come into here, right click, status, MCR. And then if I go to here, markup, so that's saved to the profile. Now that's great and all, right? If I come into here, create a new studio session, perfect. I'm creating a new MCR. I add some PDFs into here. Don't want to invite anybody. So if I add a PDF into here, well, I guess I'll add you, Jason.
Okay. We should have, done this ahead of time, but whatever. That's what we do.
So if I go in here and create a revision, I still have my MCR completed and I can mark it completed, right? But Jason will not have access to my statuses in here.
Hey, I just got an email. I've been invited to a session. Look at that.
Unless, because there's no import, I can't manage and create new statuses in the session. It would have been needed to be added or marked up prior to adding the PDF into here. Liz has a great example of this before where she said her team, and correct me if I'm wrong, Liz, has like a drop page that has statuses already as examples that she adds into her sets before uploading them into sessions. So something similar in the vein of, oh, so someone does that.
We're giving Liz, we'll just give Liz credit for it anyway until we figure out who it was.
Yeah. So if I wanted to add this into the set with these custom statuses, so Arlie has access to them, I would have this added prior to going through, instead of just like making a markup, changing a status here, and then saving it. Because you can do that, right? If I wanted this to have that status of completion in my sessions, I could come into here, right click, and change my status, MCR completed, right? I could delete this, save it, upload this into, oh, I just overrid this one. This is my demo doc. It's fine. We'll save this as to my desktop. That's a bummer. Desktop here. It happens. It happens.
Right. So going on in the chat, we're talking about, that's those statuses being managed as part of the profile, right? And so
Yep.
since everybody has that profile, I mean, ideally, if you've got a company profile to be sharing settings and tools and statuses, then that profile will have that ready to go. So if you are collaborating with everybody in the same organization, you should already have it.
Yeah, this would be for you to collaborate externally with statuses for people that are not part of your organization or do not have access to the profile, right? If they have access to the profile and they have the profile open, they'll be able to use the same status states that were originally created in that profile. That's if people are updating the profile and people have access to that updated profile, all of those things and hurdles that come along with that. But if I'm collaborating in a session with external party members, how do they have access to those custom statuses? This would be the workflow. Either you open up the PDF, make a status change on the PDF so it saves to the PDF and the metadata, or adding a drop page that has those markups already on them into like a page index of annotations or something, right?
Right.
But now Jason will have the same status ability within this PDF, not this PDF, because he doesn't have, and I didn't do any markup changes prior to uploading it into the session. I had access to mine because it's saved to my profile, but Artley does not have access to it.
Correct. So if I go to that file on my side, I can see that green markup that he placed, but I don't have, if I go place a markup, oh, you know what? I think cloud is overused. I'm going to go put a squiggle somewhere. Okay. And if I go set status, well, I do have MCR completed. Look at that. Interesting. Yeah, we've gone through this a couple times, and there's some discussion in the chat like, well, don't you have to do this? And at one point, I think we did, and then you didn't have to do it anymore. And then, yeah, let me get caught up on the chat.
So what about
Samtech? Lots of
Samtech?
words. All right, if I go to Samtech, now if I go in, I'm not going to place any markup. Well, I have to place a markup, and there's nothing in here that has a markup on it, right? So I'll go over here, and I'm going to put a little something here. I'm going to right click.
Barking dog markup.
I do have MCR completed.
Yes, this one was saved to it prior without any markups made by me. Now, let's do this. If I come into here and I upload this PDF, let's do elevations, right? Hey, I'm managing the project, but I haven't made a markup yet, right? But I still have in my statuses, well, there's a markup here, right? I still have my statuses MCR, but do you have MCR in there?
Yeah, on all of them.
Is that because one of them has it in the full set?
Well, that's what I was starting to dig through, because obviously, like, I haven't reset Revu in a while, and we've talked about MCR a lot. Did I already create an MCR custom status for this long a time ago, and it was stuck in my profile? I changed mine to my field issues profile, which I don't use very often, so it's not that case. But if I go back to the studio here and open up, which one? The doors elevation one.
Yeah, the elevation one.
Yeah, if I go to that elevation, I've got nothing. Oh, yeah, I do. MCR completed. Got it. Interesting.
So does one just have to have it in the set?
I think so. Yes, and I will mimic what David said. Just because you told us doesn't mean we remember. So.
Well, so this one had nothing in it. There's no statuses or anything. But so again, so let's remember, let's walk through this because we're going to relearn this because it's been a while. And we don't use this frequently. And people listening in don't know this either. So Samtech, I marked it up with it, added it, deleted the markup, uploaded it into here. Worked. Door schedule, I made the markup myself, changed the status, but you still had access to it.
Correct.
Elevations had nothing in it, still had the ability to have access to the markup.
Correct.
Okay. You haven't saved the status or anything. Close your instance of Revu.
Okay. Cool. Thinking. There we go. Leaving the session. So now it should show that I'm not in there anymore.
Okay. So this is a new session.
So what we should do for you, though, is close down all your other PDFs.
I saved it to my profile, though. Okay. So we're seeing if that, since I've saved it to my profile, any PDF I upload would be my next question. Does it just automatically have them? So let's go to my desktop.
If Liz was going to bet on us, she'd be making lots of money. Yes, the answer is yes. Spoiler alerts, hey.
Let's go into here. There we go. Site plan. Jason's going to love this. There we go.
All right.
I didn't open it. I don't have access to it yet. Let's let Jason be invited into this one. And how long does it take to get the invite?
Oh, it was pretty quick last time.
Because that's another thing. Like, hey, I invited somebody. How long does it take their invite to get sent?
Right. Let me see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I heard a ding, but it was just my spam filter. There it is. Got it.
12 seconds.
That's pretty good. And that's, depending on the email. Okay. So it's opening Revu, opening up the session. And I am in. We've got one document of the site plan. You cut the profile off of this one? That's why you're saying I don't like this one. All right. So on my side, I see the site plan drawing. And
Perfect.
If I go in here and I place a markup, and I go to status.
And you closed Revu.
I closed Revu.
Okay.
And I have MCR completed.
Okay. So, moral of the story is it just needs to be saved to the profile of the person uploading it.
Yep.
Now, if the person of the profile, so that just needs to be clear for everyone at your company that if you're uploading a PDF, because if you don't have the same profile and it's not managed that way, the statuses will not get added to the session.
Right. And that's also a reminder that take your statuses seriously. Don't have some, mean ones in there or anything else that's not work appropriate that maybe you didn't intend on sharing, because that's kind of what's happening, right? You're sharing settings that you're not aware that you're sharing.
Well, right? That's when you have like a profile that's personal.
Right. But still, it's still, you're transmitting data without knowing that you're transmitting data. So it's always important to know.
You are, whatever PDF you're adding into the session, automatically get those statuses adopted into them. I'm just trying to think of how Revu does that. Then, like from a back end, it's just overriding it with profile settings when you're hitting upload, or is it because you own the session? That's another good one. Is it because you own the session? The session, when you start the session, adopts profile settings, or is it the upload part that's adopting that? Like from a coding standpoint, like, is it because I initiated the session, or is it because every time I upload the PDF, which kind of is the same thing, right? Because I own it and I'm uploading it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's embedding its own metadata essentially from your computer settings.
Yeah. Well, my profile settings. So, like, at which point is it doing it? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's with the upload part. So,
well, I get the upload part, yeah, but I'm saying, is it because I'm the owner of it?
Yeah, and I'm surprised there's not a way in the settings of the session to turn that off, or when you create that session, right? Have there be a checkbox, include this profile or include.
Well, I think it comes back full circle. Why can't I just import statuses into the PDF? And I think it comes back to maybe something of them like locking things down, because this was another support question that came in here. A team member made markups on a PDF set that they downloaded from the session, and they need to get the markups onto this PDF, right? Which I never tried. Let me do file open. Okay, so I've never tried that. That's a thing. Okay. So yes, you can't you can't import markups from one PDF to the next, but I just copied and pasted it from a PDF to here. So I guess you could do that, but I own them. Right? So it'd be the person that originally made them. You could just do like a wide selection, copy paste into your markup. But back into your session, you can't import markups from one PDF to the next, but you could hypothetically, if you made a bunch of markups on page, copy them from this page into this one. You're the original owner of them. So there's that.
Right. And there was a support ticket at ATG that we were talking, I think that was last week, where, how do you do that in a session? And yeah, copy paste is the solution. And then Liz is putting in the chat, Control Shift V. So you can copy all of your markups to Control Shift V,
same place.
Control C and then Control Shift V to paste in place. That way it would work the same way as importing them. But yeah, you'd have to do that page by page. And I think we found a limitation where it wasn't bringing all of the same metadata. Like in the markups list.
Yeah, you can try it yourself. But yeah, again, being aware, there is no import, and there's in sessions, you don't have the ability to go through and use the document in terms of document management in here. That's the whole purpose of sessions, is it's supposed to be completed for you to review. That is not capable in here. So just be aware of that. I can't delete pages, rotate pages. One other way of using sessions would be if you wanted to do that, would be to use Studio Projects in conjunction. However, whenever you are done with a session or a PDF set is downloaded, and then you re-upload it into a session, any markups are no longer owned by an individual person. You know who made them, but they no longer are owned by those individual people. So just be aware of that. So if you're ever in a session, you're like, hey, we needed to import it. So all we did was download this and then import them instead of copy the paste, because there's a bunch of them. on different pages. And then we re-uploaded it. Now we can't move or delete any of the markups previously made. That's because no one owns them once they're re-uploaded into the session. So, questions from anyone else?
Nothing in the chat. Still just talking about the paste in place and the last loss of metadata. So it just becomes a fresh markup. So just be a little bit more cognizant of that. But going on to add more detail, since we're talking about that studio session and not being able to have certain functionality, remember the status is a part of that, right? The status in the studio up at the top, where Michael, you can set your status to reviewing, waiting, whatever. Because this is assuming this tool was, I'm assuming, created, or it's used the way it's used in the industry now is, we all can't meet at 2:00 to go review this set of plans in the conference room like we once did back in the old days, in the paper days, right? So now I can review that at my leisure. And if I go review it, say that I'm done, and then Michael goes in and adds and rotates pages, well, that review is no longer true, right? I have to start over. So setting that status within the studio is also important on that left side panel, because that way you're letting people know what phase you are or how you are participating in that job. So certainly want to include that.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool one. You can also say like getting coffee. I had it in my old one. If maybe someone's following you or something and you're not in the same room, like if I go back to one that Jason was in, and maybe he was following me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm no longer moving, and I say I'm getting coffee so that he knows. I mean, I guess you could chat, but maybe I don't want it part of the chat.
Right. But what I would just say, hey, grab me one too. Because I see on my side, hey, your name is getting coffee. So I know exactly what you're doing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's just statuses, again, going through and talking about that ability to have and customize them. And then what can't you do in a session? And maybe not all of us are using sessions. I do hope that after today, you may start using sessions in that collaboration portion. It's free. It's included with, well, I guess it's limited for some folks now. I will put a caveat there. I think basic has, asterisks, some limitations for what you're able to do in a session. I know they changed that around. So it used to be complete access, but I think you have limited markup capabilities in the session now.
One of these days, we're going to try to get licenses for basic and core. That way we can actually do a proper test of them. So we have a complete level of subscription. So we have all the functionality, but there are different things that you can do depending on what level you have. So if you are in here and you're not seeing the same things that anytime that you're on MCR and you're not seeing the same thing that we are, let us know, because it could be that you are in basic or core, and we don't have a way to test that currently.
Yeah, I'm going to look at it. They have a list of it,
but it's a big list. It's hard to jump back and forth.
I think it's like if you go like, what can you do in a free one?
Mm-hmm.
I'll look for it maybe after this.
Yeah.
And then post it on our page.
Correct. That'd be good. All right. There's a lot of words in the chat. Liz is using sessions and custom statuses every day. And she's the admin on the team. But there's also discussion about like, hey, how do I get people to use this stuff? Right. No, never apologize for the words, Liz. How do we get people to leverage this stuff? And that's a whole other topic on adult learning and how to push those standards. But honestly, this is one of those tricks where once you start using it and someone sees what you're doing, they're going to recognize the value immediately. Just
Yeah, no
being
need
able
to
simplify
apologize,
it.
Liz.
Yeah.
We don't use this every day as a session portion. Our production team does, but in terms of, feel free to message Liz. This is something she's very experienced in, as well as JavaScripting with stamps. So throw that out there. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to her as well for those. If you're watching this video, LinkedIn, Liz Larson, you can reach out to her. But I'm trying to find the list because there are limitations now, just so you're all aware, with folks using a read-only mode or a basic tier in studio sessions. It didn't used to be that way, but there are. So once I find a link, I'll post it in our MCR channel on LinkedIn. Just have to re-find it. They buried it in all of their help stuff. So be aware. It's just limited markups. Like you can only make certain types of markups. There are only certain types of markups activable. And I would assume it's probably the same ones of what you only have in basic tier, but I'll go through and find it.
Right.
Other than that, what were you talking about as I
And Jared,
rudely interrupted you?
no, Jared posted the link in the chat. How to use Revu without a subscription and the functionality. So that's all in the chat. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So we went through.
Oh yeah, it's right here. Thanks, Jared. So these are the only features you get.
Which, for the most part, it's kind of enough for a lot of people, right? The text box, call out, highlighter, that's how you're going to be leveraging that a little bit more. But, not being able to do the statuses, well, that's kind of a bummer. But they might not be the ones who are
call
doing
out,
that.
pen, highlight, line. So it used to be when you were a non-subscriber, you had full access in a session to everything. Now you do not.
But I mean, it's kind of for the best.
Everything outside of like document management, things you weren't able to do natively in the session, but you used to be able to do everything in that session. So
I don't blame Bluebeam for removing that functionality because I think it's kind of smart.
It was a
limited.
workaround. I will tell you, you were able to not have a license of review, log into a session, full markup capabilities, but at least they still give you some for those folks that you're like, hey, I'm trying to coordinate with a contractor or someone that doesn't want to pay to use it. But now you do have access.
Yeah. So the loophole is in the chat. I'm not going to repeat that out loud.
Yeah, no, we won't say that. We are a platinum partner with them, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, this software's cheap. Even at retail, $400 a year. Like you're going to make that up. That's what 2 or 3 billable
that's the
hours.
most expensive one, right? Yeah. And
yeah.
If you would like competitive pricing on it, feel free to reach out to us. But you also get our support. You can also call us, all that good stuff. So let me divide that by 12. That's $33 a month. What's their cheapest here? It's like 250. 250. Okay, 240.
So $20 a month.
$20 a month, yeah. I don't know what the going rate is for. I'm not gonna even Google it, but the other solution.
Oh, I don't actually know. So Doug put in the chat that PlanSwift is almost $2,000. I know the Photoshop company that people use that whole creative suite, so they've got Photoshop and they've got all the other things. Might as well use Reader or Acrobat as well. And it's like, okay, but you have it doesn't mean it's the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
So
in comparative tools that we're using in the industry, pricing wise, it's the cheapest tool software solution out there. I think, what is Revit like? If you just bought Revit,
it's like $2,700. I just looked it up not too long ago.
Toist.
Toist.
I didn't even spell it right.
That's weird. It's taking you to Takeoff.
I have no idea. All these other paid ones that people are pushing me to the. So
Revit is $2,800.
wow,
$2,835 a year.
That's wild.
So yeah, divide that by
Or
2,080.
$355 a month.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about, like, the cost of software. Bluebeam is really, really cheap, considering that it can do so much. So
it's almost like the highest tier of it is almost the same price as a monthly cost for Revit.
Yeah. Not
Since
wild.
when did these like get that expensive? Because I remember.
Just wait. It's going up 7.7% in 2 weeks. So yeah.
Oh, man.
Just another housekeeping thing. If anybody's like in your window to renew your Autodesk software, there is a price increase on February 7th. So take advantage, because like 7.7%.
Dang, even AutoCAD is $2,000.
Yeah. And that's still a subscription, right? So that's the thing, is everybody's mad at subscriptions, but all software companies are doing that. It kind of makes sense, obviously, but it's just the reality that we're in, and you kind of have to deal with it.
David, that's $2.25 an hour. Yeah. What's an AC collection? Because I think you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, and I think that's where Autodesk is pushing you to, that just get that collection, because it's cheaper overall than having AutoCAD and
oh my
Revit.
gosh, it's almost the same price as just the individual Revit.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
It's like $100 more per month if you look at it from a monthly cost, because it's what, $355,
but you're getting, there's 55 pieces of software in that collection.
Yeah, at that point you might as well just do this.
Yeah.
If you had AutoCAD and Revit, I'm assuming you could, not assuming, you can buy AutoCAD and Revit. And that's probably why people look at LT Revit, which LT is very limited. But you'd probably, I mean, with this, you get like docs access too, which you can kind of hybrid into ACC, So like you could still save a cloud model, not a central model in ACC, if coming from a structural design perspective, if somebody was requiring us to collaborate in ACC, I could, with an ACC collection, not purchasing BIM Collaborate Pro yet because we're not fully involved in that cloud collaboration for our internal teams, but requirement maybe from like an architectural team, you could still have access to docs, upload your model, download a copy of theirs, hybrid into it as you're dipping your toes into this new world and age of Autodesk Construction Cloud with this. So just thoughts, because I know a docs license is around $700 if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on this, and I will say that all the time.
Yeah,
but I think it's around there. Yeah, I think it's around there. And that in and of itself, right, is you're adding up to that cost. So.
But as Doug put in the chat, it has to be worked into your overhead. But I don't think a lot of people understand the true cost, of overhead. You're not just talking about your benefits and your payroll, but like you're talking at least $5,000 a year in software per head, not including the computer, the office space, all that other stuff too. I mean, it's expensive to do work. So, don't have a magic wand to say, hey, make it easy, but everything costs money because somebody's got to get rich, right?
What's another one? I think so. That was full circle of like talking about pricing, right? So let's look at Bluebeam.
Are you pulling up the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if you want to get some pricing on these, feel free to reach out to us here at ATG. It won't be us. If you want to talk about the software, we'd be more than happy to talk about the software. But in comparative pricing, I mean,
it's just cheap. I mean, you'd spend that $400 just in 2 hours of doing a cost analysis, right?
Yep. Yeah, so Liz posted her link. There's also U Chapter 2. That is from Troy De Groot. We have our MCR chat on LinkedIn as well. If you do have questions, we can answer them as well here. And then Liz has very vast knowledge from statuses and JavaScripting for stamps. And she's very passionate about it. So she would love to talk to you.
So I did pull up the price for Acrobat. If you pay monthly, it's $30 a month. If you pay annually, it works out to be $20 a month. So you're looking at basically the same price as basic. If you could do the annual payment, which would be the same as
Which is the options you only have in
yeah.
Adobe, right? Because I don't think you can do cost estimating in it, can you?
No, there's a whole bunch of things you can't do. It's just not the right tool for the job. It was great for a while when that was all that we had, but now that we've got so much power that Revu has put into our lives with, markups and sketching to scale and the markups list and all the other things that make it stand out, like it's a no-brainer. I'll pay the extra $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I
one
know
of
it's
these
two
days
drinks. David and I will, Jason and I are creating a tally list for when we're back together.
right?
And then we'll catch up on those, David. Think you can keep the list for us. I think I had 2 last week as well. So that's 4. Well, 3. 1 for Artley because he didn't say it last time.
I try to watch it a little closer, but today I felt like fell off the wagon, I suppose. All right.
But I mean, because some people just have it because they have like Photoshop and stuff like that. Like, so I understand, but you're not using a solution that's built for what we do. So,
right. That's what I talk about internally here is like, it's the right tool for the job. And if there's something comparable, let's talk about it. Right.
Yeah. That's what we're here to do.
Challenge.
Yeah. Artley and I love to compare. We're going to talk about what your workflows are and offer the best solution for it and let you make the decision, right? We're not here to pressure you into anything. We're just here to talk.
Mm-hmm.
What else, Artley?
Yeah, just moving forward. Like I said, there's going to be something that we can talk about next month as far as announcements, but otherwise we're still, reaching out to you guys, the community. If you've got ideas for more stuff that you want us to cover or challenge us with or anything else, just to put it in the chat, hit us up on our LinkedIn group. We'll put that link in the chat if you didn't already. Go join us over there. And yeah, we're glad you're here.
Yeah, we're happy that you're all here. Excited that you all made the migration into Teams. Again, you have to register every week. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Or wait till I post a link in the MCR chat. That way you can join via that way. It's completely up to you. Unfortunately, you do have to register per event. That's how it was set up and how it works. I don't know the back end on it, but that's what we were told. So
yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and put our LinkedIn group chat link in the chat. So many words. Link. So that's there. If you haven't joined us over there, we'll try to be a little bit more, take more advantage of that throughout the week in between our Tuesday get-togethers here.
That's a good one, David. I'll put it in my notes. Topics. We still need to reach out to Doug. Is Doug still here?
Yep, he's there.
For his, Doug wants to talk more about best estimating stuff. So we'll reach out to him for more advanced. So for those folks that are maybe newer into the software, we do topics like this. For those folks that are more advanced, we don't really talk about them. We let those folks jump on and talk about it to share their knowledge, since we are not in it every day now. And we'll admit it, right? We're very transparent here. So
Exactly. Sometimes too transparent, but we haven't gotten that much trouble, so that's fine. Don't we all, David? We all
I want to be like
aspire.
that.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So we started today talking about statuses, right? So we went through how to create them, where to find them, how to save them locally, how to modify them for text and color. And then we went into a studio session, talked about how to get those up there. We talked about the actual attendee statuses as well. I believe that's most of the ways that we can manage statuses. Did we cover all of our bases before we wrap up for the day? I think we did.
Yes,
We
for
can't
managing
import and export.
statuses, yeah, because we can't import export. I guess like we didn't cover how to export profiles out, but we've done videos on that. If you go to our YouTube channel, which you may be watching it from there, there's one in our list of Morning Coffee Review, and I don't know if can you post a link to that YouTube channel as I'm rambling on, directly to the Morning Coffee Review. I should just bring it up.
I should really just bookmark that that thing as much as it comes out.
I'm subscribed to it and a bunch of aquascaping stuff. As you can all tell, I'm very into it now. But as we go through to here, it's so ATG USA. Jason will post a link. Right here is the full podcast link. I'll post that one into here. This is where all of our videos are. We used to do it live. Now that we switched to Teams, we don't do them live. Justin edits them. Thank you, Justin. And then as you look at them, you can see all of them. We have over 100, I would say 100, because some of them aren't actual videos. Yeah, but some of them are like the 1-minute videos. So I usually jump a couple down. So we have about 145 hours.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to Jason and me talk every day.
Oh, so before we wrap up, there was a question in the chat that I want to make sure that is included in that video. So hello, future listeners. Let's see, how does one delete an existing status that one didn't create or add to a PDF? Can you delete them? So if you didn't create it, you really can't do much. You're kind of stuck, right?
I don't know.
So that is one of those things that makes sense. Again,
yeah, like I didn't create these that were built in, so like you can't
manage them.
Yeah, I mean I could change and modify them, but I can't like delete them from the profile.
Right. So
yeah,
good stuff. All right, everybody. Well, have a wonderful Tuesday. Stay warm out there or cool out there, depending on what your weather's doing, and we will see you next week.
See you all next week.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.